All right, welcome to the studios of Weekend Deal. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show. My name is Suleiman Abuja Usman, and yesterday we talked extensively on the need to strengthen the local government administration in Nigeria. And from the stories we shared with you yesterday and the responses we got from those who participated via text messages, the local government chairmen have actually not been able to carry out their constitutional responsibility. Why? Because they don't have the freedom, administrative freedom or financial freedom to do that. And of course, we will talk more about this after we must have taken this background report put together by Ayuba Tete.
As has been the case in past general elections, the quest for garnering public support and eventual votes is in full swing. And again, a recurrent question resonates. Are local government elections truly free and fair? Why does the ruling party always have a clean-swept victory in the local government level?
Local government system, as it stands, is a creation of the law, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Today, we are in a situation where it is now mandatory. The law made it mandatory for local government elections to be conducted, for the occupants of local government councils, chairmen, and councillors to be democratically elected. And the ruling party in states, they have tended to undermine these democratic gains, this essence of conducting elections that will create way for grassroots participation in who become their local government chairs. The reason why they are able to succeed in this aspect is that the major opposition party tend not to be interested in most of these elections. Prior to the local government election, you see that the opposition party, many opposition parties start pulling out of the process. They'll say they are not participating. Some of them, instead of going to campaign to participate in this election, they will go to court to challenge the election in itself.
Also is the challenge of unaccountability as regarding provisions collected from and directed to the local government level. Not to mention lack of transparency whenever any administrative collation is conducted.
There is a gross misplacement of priority. There is maladministration. Corruption also became a cog in the wheel of progress. If we are talking about development, we should look at development from the grassroots, which is the host community, which is the local government, the community. We don't need to talk about just Abuja or Washington DC or London and so forth and so on. And so if the local government are not being developed, it is not the people who dwell in the local government that cause it. It is the leadership, the local government chairman. They are controlled by the governors.
The motive behind the creation of the local government tier is essentially to reach everyone down to the grassroots level. But that motive seems to be hampered by sentiments and selfish intentions. What strategies would remedy this situation?
The issue of autonomy has just come on board. Thank God for Mr. President, who I feel such a positive innovation that believe that money should not go through the state governors, but the local government should be autonomous. I think with this development coming up now, the local government will experience development. If you get to the local government, before this issue of autonomous came on board, there are communities where the primary school people sit on the ground, no chair, no desk, the teachers, the same thing. Those are what we're talking about. So if we are talking about autonomous to the local government, now they receive their money direct from the federal government, then the chairman can really plan. We'll also talk about development, establishment of bank, and so on and so on. We'll think about how we can develop the local government in terms of agriculture, in terms of industrialization, individual coming to develop the area, how our people can go back home and develop the local government, our area, based on the raw material that we have at hand, because you must think about raw material. We have a lot of raw material. The palm fruit are there, nobody tap them anymore. And we can talk about other countries that come to learn from Nigeria. So let's think about the local government development. Let us develop the local government.
Weekend Deal today will take a step further into understanding the local government tier of government.
How close is local government to the people that it's meant to serve? Because we know that we have series of challenges, and of course, at the beginning of that report, it talked about elections and how elections are conducted in the local areas. Of course, it is said that the governors decide who eventually emerge winner at different, elections in the elections at the local level. And of course, for anything to happen, for any meaningful change to take place in the local government administration, perhaps that system needs to be readjusted. And of course, we will talk further about that after we must have taken this next report, which borders on the election at the local government levels.
Of the three tiers of governance in Nigeria, certainly the local government is the most deprived in terms of financial and administrative liberty to bring good governance to the people at the grassroots.
Well, for me, local government administration is a good thing as it is, in terms of functionalities and all of that. But what they do currently, I don't think they are being used optimally. Yeah,
I think they've been so much relegated and they've not been given the autonomy they deserve.
The local governments are trying in Nigeria, but I feel allocation should be going to them directly to help them work more effectively.
Perfectly not doing well, because there are some roads that the local government is supposed to take care of. They will not do it. Maybe they will be waiting for the state or whatever.
The beginning of local government administration in Nigeria can be traced to pre-colonial administration by Great Britain. As time passed by, grassroots governance gathered momentum in 1976 with the guidelines for local government reforms spearheaded by the military administration of General Murtala Mohammed and General Olusegun Obasanjo, a strategic drive that rejuvenated governance and set the tone for quality representation at the grassroots level.
Traditional chiefs, ladies and gentlemen, it affords me the greatest pleasure to address you on this occasion of formal launching of the reform of local government system in this state.
In recent times, however, there has been a drastic decline in the delivery of service at the local government level due to corruption, weak institutions, poor funding, and poor infrastructure.
The elites who are educated are oftentimes illiterate when it comes to political matters. So we have a compounded problem in our hand, in that the elite who should know do not know that the best way to serve the people is to serve as the local government level. That is where real service to humanity is needed.
What is the electioneering process for local council officials, from councillors to the chairman? And how well are state governors complying with the constitutional provisions to conduct local government elections in their states?
For me, I think it's for the state governments to give them the free hand. And again, in terms of distribution of funds too, I think the government should just allow them, to get direct fund instead of channeling the funds through the state.
If Muhammadu Buhari will be remembered for anything that he has done, it will be for the autonomy, the law on the autonomy of the local government, and of course the electoral law. For me, those two things are critical to moving the Nigerian state forward. So we now have to bank on the persons who are coming in after him. Will they be able to strengthen the implementation of this critical law and then be able to create enforcement, as the need may arise. Particularly, the National Assembly has to get the governors hands off the jugular of the local government.
The year 1976 and 1977 are notable in the history of local government administration in the country. During this period, people at the grassroots benefited immensely from the dividends of good governance, as the adoption of zero-party system brought forth individuals with rich grasp of the needs of the people who emerged as representatives, thus making it difficult for individuals who have lived most of their lives in other areas to point the way forward.
The first thing I want to say is that not just on the part of the representative, on our part as citizens, we need to understand how important local government administration is to us. Your record, my dear, is at the local government. That's where you exist. You don't exist at the state level. You don't exist at the national level. You exist at the local government level.
No doubt, the local government administration needs to be strengthened if developmental strides must reach the grassroots.
Okay, thank you for staying with us. And of course, we can say that the local government, system has gone through several reforms, but has this reform really translated to the expected result that we are supposed to get from the local government in terms of governance? The answer is still out there. Of course, we intend to engage our first guest in the studio, Dr. Umar Buba Binder. You're welcome to the studios. Of course, he's also the former SSG to Adamawa State government. You're welcome.
Thank you.
To our studio.
Always a pleasure being here.
All right. So, we'll also talk about your office vis-a-vis the situation of local government as we advance this conversation. But first of all, we have seen several reforms, happen to the state local government areas to ensuring that, yes, they are seen to be performing their constitutional responsibility. But despite all these reforms, we are still here. Nothing really is happening. The local government chairman, whether elected or selected, are not performing their constitutional responsibility because they don't have the administrative or financial freedom to do that, knowing fully that, funds is very critical in ensuring that, development is brought to the local government areas.
Well, different people will have different opinions. I like starting from the windfall of goodness before you enter badness. Unfortunately, in our country, everybody likes to condemn this country. We abuse our leaders. We say we're not performing. But I said this before. In the whole world, Nigeria has demonstrated that you can create a new city and functionalize it in less than 50 years. We have. Now, why can't we praise ourselves and praise our leaders on this? But coming back to the local government areas, look, as far as I am concerned, not officially, me, as far as I am concerned, if we really believe that we want to develop, meaning that we raise the standard of our human capital, we raise the standards of our infrastructure to functionalize our economies, we raise the standards to engage people in jobs, creating wealth and sharing and distributing wealth, we know what to do. How come that of the nearly 9,000 wards, we elect councillors and they come to us, vote for me, water will be available, vote for me, your houses will be better. But the only thing that gets better is their house when they go out. How? And we don't ask those questions. How come a local government chairman who comes in, says vote for me for all these goodies, it's only him, his house, his car and so on that is getting better in 2 or 3 or 4 years of his tenure, and the system doesn't get better? And this chap is from that local government. I've not seen an Adamawa Yola South citizen being a local government chairman in Ikorodu. It doesn't happen. Is the Ikorodu chap become the local government chairman so your people knows you. So to me, you see, we first of all as a country have to decide that we want to develop and then we do something about it. I like the Chinese approach. The approach is the meritocracy approach. There is no way you can become a local government chairman if you don't have a history of performance. Not just performance on you, but performance on people, that you have changed people's lives, you have created wealth, you have created opportunities for people to engage in jobs, then they raise you to leadership. But in our country, you will get total non-entities. Somebody who is not known, only because he has a godfather that says, go to that local government, and he goes there. You cannot expect water out of a rock. In my office as SSG, and I put what I call as the public and the traditional partnership. Instead of PPP, I now produce a PTP. What do I mean? At the public level, you have leadership at the ward level, at the local government level, and all that. I documented all these leaders. Who is the ward councillor? Who is the local government vice chairman, up to the highest level, with their telephone numbers. I didn't carry 1 penny from the governor, because these people, when you talk to people, you know these people. Then I documented the traditional people, from the Mayangwa to the village head, to the district head, up to the emir. I produce all their names, because the secretary of the Adamawa State Traditional Council is in my office as a director. I didn't ask for 1 kobo. When I put this thing together for every single village, I know the pyramid of leaders, and you can contact them. I produce a booklet with all these telephone numbers. I printed it with my own running cost in the office of the SSG, and I shared it to people free. So I said, call your leader, tell him your problems. If he is not attending to your problem, don't elect him next time. When you select or elect your leaders, elect them wisely. Monitor them every year. Development is not a secret. You know, you can see your life getting better, or if it is getting worse. And it is that leader who is leading people, managing resources to actually move forward. Chase him away if he is not doing what is going to make your life better and your children. But somehow you find that the electorate is also in this quagmire of condoning and tolerating inefficiency and non-delivery.
I like the fact that you make reference to you being the SSG to the Adamawa State government at that, at some point in your life. Now, you share with us your experience of what the government did with joint account then, because we understand that even now that we have NFIU, in place, that's the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit in place. You realize that even if this fund is sent directly to the local government accounts, one way or the other, that same fund finds its way back to the joint account for onward distribution, and that is being determined by the state governor. So we'll talk to you talk to us about how you were able to manage, because of course we are part of that government. But let's take a look at what tax and levies does for the local government.
It is a regular phenomenon for travelers to be accosted by men in different shades of uniform harassing commercial vehicle operators for various forms of levies and taxes, from daily levies for transport operators to radio taxes for motorists plying border states. More often, this is done by tax agent or consultant in a very barbaric way, through the application of unorthodox method. Some observers have described this as arbitrary and a form of multiple taxation.
The papers you collect for your vehicle, especially if it's a pickup that you are using to travel from Abuja to Enugu State, you have to pay extra money at every point, at every local government that you pass. And the reason is ridiculous. They tell you that this paper, you don't have it. Whether they just imagine or there are regulations to that, we don't know.
This raises a crucial question. The local government that is supposed to be the closest to the people are not constituting a burden on the people.
These monies that are collected, they even collect them from market women. If you set up a business enterprise like a hotel, they will come and meet you to pay for fumigation, which they will tell you that they are the ones that will do. They will pay for signboard. You pay for inspection of the kitchen. By the time you finish paying for those things, you will discover that it is not even worthwhile conducting that business. So many small-scale businesses have folded up
While collection of levies and taxes are very crucial for growth and development of any society, the collection of levies and taxes in the local councils leave much to be desired. It is often fraught with arbitrariness and lack of coordination between the various tiers of government. Sometimes, local council agents are seen demanding for same levies collected by the state and federal government. Perfect example is in the telecommunications sector, where the federal, state, and local government collect taxes from the service providers, who in turn throw the burden on masses through hikes in tariff. Also, taxi drivers are daily harassed for payment of levies. Similarly, motorists traveling across the country are stopped on the way for all manner of levies, from radio tax to vehicle papers fees.
It's not about synergy. The issue is that there's total collapse of governance at the local government level. The people who are stopping people doing those extortion, don't remit that money to government coffers because those monies don't show up in the revenue of the state. They are criminal gangs. Criminal gangs to the extent that what they are doing is illegal, the manner they are conducting is illegal, and the proceeds they get from there do not go into any government coffers. They are not registered anywhere as revenues of the local government.
Some analysts have called for a synergy in tax collection between the federal, state, and local government to avoid the issue of multiple taxation. They also argued for accountability in the collection and utilization of funds accrued from taxation from the local government administration.
All right, thank you for staying with us. Your messages are coming in. We'll take them in the course of this program. We still have Dr. Umar Buba Binder with us. And before the break, we were expecting an answer, that borders on the joint account. Now, we know that some state governors have come out to say that without joint account, some local governments will not be able to pay their salary. So that means there's disparity in terms of allocation. Now the idea is to bring it together and redistribute so that everybody will have a share of that. Was that the practice when you were there as the SSG to the Adamawa state government?
Well, actually, I have to tell anybody who wishes to understand that I am not an expert when it comes to joint accounts. But operating the local government and managing the people and the resources is an art and a science too. That brings you back to the quality of leadership. So if you put somebody who cannot read well or who cannot write well, which is the template that we run now, and you expect water out of this rock, it is not going to come out, This is the foundation level of governance. At this level, local government is where you have the primary healthcare, the primary schools, the farm roads, and the boreholes and wells. That is where you have. That is the foundation of development. So you need an energy of management, of people, so that you can live peacefully, you are helping each other, you are utilizing resources well, and also management of finances to make sure that it is efficient and you can actually gauge your performance with time. When you don't have such leadership, then you now start saying, oh, it's the joint account, oh, whatever. The day that you see ICPC and EFCC, that is our top corruption institutions, complaining of job, that is, they have no local government chairman or other governors to catch, then you know something is happening. But as long as even the amendment of their laws is trying to strengthen them to catch more, you get what I mean? You have a problem. So why do Nigerians hypocritically, on one side you say we have endemic corruption, we have problems of corruption. On the other side you're saying we want efficiency. You cannot eat your cake and have it. Is either we quench corruption and then efficiency will just grow, or we continue like this, that this efficiency will continue limping and corruption is going through. So to me, it still come to how do we elect leaders at that level? Who has the autonomy and strength mentally, physically, so that they can look at their governors in there, as you say, Your Excellency, I don't think this is going to work. The best way to do, and the governor should say, who are you to talk to me like this? Well, with respect, because he's the governor. Your Excellency, I'm telling you, I have done this. I have tried this. I have made this. This is the justification. See this document. I wrote it. And see these pictures. I was there. Unless you start having this, you will just start having a local government sitting like this, like some kind of headless chicken, and the governor is screaming his head off on him, and he'll pick his pack and go. That constitution doesn't see that, but constitution will say he's in fact, if you ask that local government chairman, are you autonomous? You say yes. Is the governor disturbing you? No, the governor is not touching me at all. Is he taking any money from? No way. That same local government that you are fighting for. So the leadership has to be exposed. The leadership has to be modernized. And certainly, the leadership has to have a moral intention to say that I have come here to serve, not to serve myself and others.
And then for us to have that leadership, most especially at the local, level, the people who are responsible for voting these individuals into power must begin to have a change of mindset, because today you realize that some of the local government chairmen don't really have the the quality, the leadership quality to advance development in that local environment. And that is why some some state governors are saying that the local government chairmen, some of them are not intelligent, some of them are corrupt, and all of that. Hence the high-handedness of some of this local government area. But we'll talk further about that after we must have taken this next report, which borders on funding of local government areas. Of course, funds are necessary to attract development as well.
Nigerian constitution dictates that local government function include these tasks, among lesser ones: building and maintaining roads, streetlights, drains, parks, providing sanitation and sewage, maintaining and regulating markets, motor parks and abattoirs. What is the situation in Lagos State?
The funding of local government comes from the federal government through the state government. And it has been regular. It has been coming in regularly. So I don't think there is any problem about that. It has been coming regularly, but it is high time that the allocation is reviewed upward because of the enormous challenges at the grassroots.
Local governments are created with the ultimate goals of bringing government close to the people at the grassroots. In Nigeria, the local government reforms aimed at both to accelerate development and to enable the local population participate and hold those in power accountable for their governance roles. The challenges that plague the Nigerian local government system includes issues such as poor funding, paucity of human capital, corruption, etc.
As far as infrastructural development is concerned, we have a lot of, roads to be fixed, drainages, health, education, and all other infrastructure that is, facing the local government to attend to. But, we have been able to, within the little resources that is available to us, we have been able to at least make some appreciable, achievements.
For the local government to function effectively and bring development closer to the people at the grassroots level, many reforms had been introduced by the federal government. The reforms of 1976 are regarded as panacea, which was designed to take the presidential system of government to the grassroots.
Alimosho being the largest local government that we have in Nigeria, we have problem of funding. What comes to us in Alimosho is just one fund for a local government. And it is being divided into 6. You can imagine that. So, the funds that come in here is almost not enough to fix anything.
It was the constitution that gave it the right that the money should be, passed through the state government and from the state government to the local government.
To enable the local governments to perform their functions effectively and bring development to the people, it is important, therefore, for each party in the course of governance to do their own part as provided by the Constitution and other related documents.
All right, we still have some messages coming in. This one says, I can attest to that because I served as secretary to the local government. Then he made an effort to see how local government council function properly in Adamawa. I'm sure he is referring to the earlier, statement you made about the efforts you made to ensuring that things work at the local level as well. The next one says, the president have tried in maintaining peace among local government, but the problem is that the local government leadership it is local government leadership that have put their mind on godfathers who demand too much. President Buhari is the best president so far. May God bless him. Local government chairman cannot handle this problem because the powers are more than them. This one is coming from Tunde Yekini Lusade from Ogun State. Now, Doctor, you're also the national coordinator of National Social Investment Program, and then we know that you are making effort to ensuring that people are taken out of poverty. But the multidimensional poverty index data released recently says about 63%, if you count about 133 million Nigerians are living in abject poverty, and over 70% of this number resides in rural areas that are manned by local government, chairman. I know that you had this conditional cash transfer, 5,000 naira to households, and then a lot of people are wondering, what will 5,000 naira do for people, for households, given the present economic reality?
To your question on the conditional cash transfer, yes, if you are living in Abuja or Lagos or Ibadan or Kaduna, you will frown at the 5,000 naira per household a month.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, me, as you see me sitting here, a gentleman with a PhD in engineering and now national coordinator self, after even being a secretary to the government. My mother, before her death, she never went to school. So she suffered education challenges. She died when delivering. She suffered this maternal, and so on and so forth. But that same woman knew how to make soap out of dalam, we call in fulfulde, which is caustic soda and palm oil. She knew how to extract oil out of groundnuts. She has that science in her head. If you eat my mother's puff puff, you will come back tomorrow. If you eat her kose, you will come back to buy tomorrow. But that woman had no opportunity of having 5,000 naira in her hand. She probably will live for 2 years without seeing 5,000, in fact 2,000 naira. If when my mother was alive, that 5,000 naira drops in her hand, with a bit of talking to her, every week, my mother will produce 2 or 3 pints of oil for the market. I swear to God, I would have gone to University of Maiduguri with a car. So that is how important 5,000 naira is to people that we are targeting. We are not targeting you, Suleiman. We are not targeting Bayo. We are not targeting me. We are targeting these poor and vulnerable, well-talented survivalists in the communities. Inject a bit of finance. This same 5,000 naira out of 10 households has created a kuli cluster. You go there, they are constantly frying groundnuts or salting it, and it is going into bottles. They are frying groundnuts and grinding. They even bought their own grinder there and is grinding it. They are extracting oil. You will see pints of oil. Every day people are buying. They are putting kuli in different shapes, ring shapes, snake shape, long shape, even groundnut shape. They are frying chin model. And I went there, I felt so comfortable that, this 5,000 is Babana, it's like my father. If we don't do this, our children will suffer. These same women are now buying uniform for their children. They are buying shoes for their children. My mother would have bought children a shoe for me. So people who are sitting in the comfort zone of their Abujaness, thinking that 5,000 naira is too small, you can continue to do that. Where we are delivering the 5,000 naira, poor and vulnerable households, particularly in our areas, mainly women who are utilizing it, were comforted by the kind of things that we see and we hear from them.
Interesting. Now, let's take some messages. This one says local government areas can only develop if they are totally separated from the states and stand alone as a government. Local government elections should be conducted along with federal government elections and strictly overseen by the INEC to reduce overbearing tendency of the governance. This one did not say his name or where he's texting from. Now, as we wrap up this conversation, from all that has been said yourself and also the reports we've taken from the messages we have read so far, what is really the way forward in terms of ensuring that the local government is seen to be carrying out its constitutional responsibility that will have direct impact on the lives of people residing in those communities, knowing fully that it is actually the closest, government to the people?
I think my parting gift to people who are listening is that let us, when we have good leadership, let us subscribe and recognize it. I swear to God, this president that you see, this old man that you see, is one of the most innovative and creative presidents that Nigeria will see. He has thought of all this. He has put it on the table. The reforms of local government, poverty eradication strategy, the reforms of all these second Niger Bridge, and so on and so on. He has laid this on the table. What does he get? The same people that he is trying to ginger to wake up as Nigerians will now start popping up with different things. So my advice is that first, let us be proud Nigerians. Let us also say the goodness we have. Don't always, you put yourself in a workshop, you're abusing each other, you say things that you don't know. Criticisms that I get as National Coordinator of National Social Investment Program sometimes make me laugh, even from leaders, from highly level people. If you look at, for example, the N-Power, President said, we hire young people who are graduates from local government of their residence. Not from local government where you are and you are different. What do these young people do? They come from very far local government, register in this local government, and then complain of transport money. Automatically, you know that you are not in the... You are supposed to be next to the school, next to the healthcare, next to the farm that you are advising, so that 30,000 naira, 20,000 naira will be saved. And the 10,000 naira is your survival. That 20,000 naira over 1 year becomes some money so that you can invest and also stand for yourself. That is the creativity of the president. But we abuse it. Work hard in our country. We have the opportunities to actually change this country. I believe so. And as we amplify this belief, I think the local governments will become vibrant. By implication, the whole national development will unleash itself so that we are united, we are progressive, we can develop, and we can demonstrate to our leaders that we are proud followers.
United so that we can develop, and we must be seen to be progressive in our approach in almost everything we do as a nation, most especially as it concerns the local government. Of course, you have been speaking to us with experiences as administrator, as somebody who is fighting poverty, and somebody who has been in government also as a politician. Thank you for sharing your time with us. And of course, we have been chatting with Dr. Umar Buba Binti, is also the National Coordinator, National Social Investment Program, and also former SSD to the government of Adamawa State. Right now, we go on a break. After that, the show continues. Stay with us. All right, thank you for staying with us. Now, let's look at Abuja and see how the local government, chairmen have been able to manage the infrastructure development in the FCT.
In recent times, it has been observed that there has been a decline on service delivery of local government administration in Nigeria.
If you allow each local government to have the resources that are available to them, I assure you that you begin to see development rear its head once again. You hardly can find a state where the local governments are allowed to have their own resources and take care of development itself. If the chairman wants something as small as 20,000, he will have to write to the commissioner in charge or the advisor in charge before they come. So it is critically important that the local governments be allowed to have their own resources so that we begin to see development at that level of government. I'm not happy at the state that we are in because not much is happening. For the past, how many years? Maybe 2 decades. That has been the problem.
Area council receive very, very, very low budgets because most of the budget that comes to area councils are overwhelmed by staff payments, salaries, and this is affecting infrastructure. So there is no investment in infrastructure in FCT.
All the 774 local government areas in this country are allocated funds, okay, to complement, right, what the local council's IGR does. In Amag, where I presided, we have sources of revenue that are within the purview of our area council. We are entitled to collection of this rate, that rate, and whatever. The law permits that, defined by the tax board.
Beaming a torchlight on the country's capital, Abuja. Despite its huge investment in infrastructure, most of the internal roads leading to the residential areas, which are primarily the responsibilities of the local government administration, are in deplorable states.
On paper, they have the money, and on paper, the money is retired. But I don't know how the money does not get to where it is supposed to get. So that is the work of those who have the responsibility of investigating to find out exactly what is happening to the local government money. And this, I assure you, is irrespective of party affiliation, is irrespective of which state. Largely, that is what is happening across the country.
You will discover that a contractor just complete his job this year. 2 years' time, the road will be collapsing. We don't have new one. The old ones are not maintained because of lack of money.
The current local councils across this country are democratic in nature. And so, as an arm of government, we operate whatever that is operational at the state and federal level. For instance, it is the responsibility of local authorities, local councils, to collect rates from the tenement rate. If you say state government wanting to collect revenue from tenement rate, then it means the local councils there do not know what they're doing. Okay, because it's within the ambit, within the purview, within the orbit of local councils to get or to earn revenue from tenement rate. Shop and kiosks, liquor licenses, all these things are within their domicile revenue sources for local councils. And for me, under my tenure, I vigorously pursue them.
The failure of local government administration as an institution in Nigeria to solve ongoing problems of the grassroots further indicates a lack of contentment in the governance and consequently retards the closeness of the people to the grassroots government.
All right, that report came from NTA Abuja. Now, we have joined us in the studio our next guest. He is a former Vice Chancellor, University of Abuja, and is called Professor Nuhu Yakub. You are welcome to our studio.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to see you here.
Thank you very much. It's also a pleasure.
Now, you've been watching some of our reports. Of course, my interview with Dr. Umar Buba Bender. What thoughts are dominating your mind right now?
About
local government administration in Nigeria?
Well, I think for even the reports issued by the station and also the contribution by Dr. Bender, clearly, and I also listened, to some of the discussions yesterday, and it's very clear that the local government structure, which, for me, is an integral part of the Constitution, which means that, the functions of this, tier of government is something that, should actually be allowed. What is happening is that if you look at the Schedule 4, Schedule 4, of the Constitution, it clearly specifies what are the functions and responsibilities of the local government. But unfortunately, the state governments, without exception, in the 36 states,
all of them,
without exception, there are complaints. You also discover that, in fact, to be a local government councillor or chairman, you have to kowtow to the executive governor of the state. If you don't give respect, you cannot get it. And that's also, brings to the fore the issue of, are we really practicing democracy in this country? Or we have, executive monarchies. I mean, there's no such appellation or system anywhere. But what we now have is executive, monarchies, because everything you have to do has to get the sanction. I mean, the support, as well as the sanction of the governor before you can do it, and that renders the local government functionaries very functionless.
But we are all, living with this reality, and it's as if one can do nothing to change the narrative. Is that the case we are experiencing in Nigeria?
This is what is most unfortunate about this development, because we are talking about, a particular tier of government that is recognized by Constitution. For goodness sake, why shouldn't they function? This is the key question. Why shouldn't they function?
Just recently, the president actually came out. Of course, he has never hidden his desire for the local government to have the financial and administrative autonomy so that they can function well, because only through that can people feel the impact of the local government authorities. But the governors are fighting this. We've seen situations whereby some state assembly have declined to endorse this autonomy bill for the local government. What really is happening? Why are people so laid back when we talk about autonomy for the local government?
Well, I mean, it fits into the narrative I have given so far, that we don't have democrats. If we have democrats, they will actually, appreciate the fact that, at this level, because if you look at even the schedules, I mean, the functions of a local government, they are quite, comprehensive.
Detailed, yeah.
They are detailed. And this is what they can do for the benefit of the people living in the locality. Yesterday, I was listening to Professor Okonko, and he said, what is supposed to be done in the local government, at the local government level, they will not, be part of it, only for, a diktat from somewhere, either Abuja or the state capital, that this is going to be done. How do you call that democracy? Democracy is a process whereby people can, actually negotiate, bargain, before certain policies or decisions are taken. And you don't have this. Somebody is imposing programs or projects on you, and you cannot even, define how relevant it is. Do we actually, in fact, the question is, do we need this project in our local government area? This fundamental question is not asked. Secondly, the way it is handled in such a manner that it actually defeats anything about accountability and transparency. So democracy is about bargaining, and also about, ensuring that, whatever is being done is done in a very, in a manner that it shows transparency, in a manner that actually follows the provisions either of the Constitution or policy guidelines.
All right, Prof, I know that according to Dr. Umar Bindri, that perhaps if technocrats, if academia, people from the academia are coming into, to vie for some of these political positions, perhaps it will help change the narrative. In fact, he made reference to a professor who is presently a local government chairman in Borno State, and he's saying that he's also waiting to see what change that will bring to that local government setting. But just as we mentioned Borno, let's cross over to Borno to see what the local government funds is actually being used for in the states.
Improving on government policies are effective means of providing and distribution of democratic dividend in Nigeria.
So the local government is the last tier within the federal system that make people much more closer, because the local government, number one, is the agent that create what you call homogenizing the heterogeneity. Because in a heterogeneous society, each is feeling a sort of seclusion. But if you are given the autonomy through the devolution of power, you now have a sense of belonging, that you belong to that local government which is under that state, which is under the federal structure. So that creation of sense of belonging is the centerpiece of the creation in local government. Two, it is the unit of government that tend to identify potential resources for the development. Because they are much more closer to the society, they are connected with the community, they can identify.
Enshrined in the 1976 Nigerian Constitution, which allowed local government councils access to funds directly from the federal government allocation for infrastructural development projects. Are these funds accessible? Are there interference from the state government?
Use this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation to His Excellency Professor Babagana Omar Azulun for conducting local government elections after over 10 years of this insurgency. So conducting this election now signifies that there is a will for His Excellency to now restore the past glory of local government systems in Nigeria, and in Borno State in particular. So the local government system in Borno State are operating fully as an arm of government, because we are now executives with our legislatures, with other civil servants within the local government council, and we are now fully actively engaged. As I have told you, restoration cannot be possible without adequate funding. So every now and then in the state, we receive our allocation as at when due.
We are very happy with the resources at our disposal. We are very, very happy. And we are up to the task, alhamdulillah. We have been doing everything within our power to ensure that we have delivered the services to our people. Right from day one into my office, I took over the responsibility of paying the registration fees, both WAEC and NECO, of Gala Indigen in all the schools within the state and outside for 2 years now. And also our students in the tertiary institution, I used to pay them at every registration point.
Constitutional reforms aimed at accelerating development to enable the participation of local institutions.
Giving Dr. Ali Omi as a chairman is a blessing to Magumi local government, because the local government has been deserted for many years. But immediately as he was sworn in as the chairman of the local government, he had to take his time, consult all the military operational institutions, to couple with the traditional rulers and the community at large, to make sure that civil authority has been restored in Magumi local government.
Malati Janingala has executed many projects, many developmental projects in Gala local government, especially in terms of education. And also he has sponsored more than 1,000 elementary school students, indigenous students of Gala local government. Whereas he also paid tutors fees to almost 500 tertiary institutions students.
Malati Janingala has tried a lot, and when it comes to farms, he has helped the farmers. People of Gambaro are now okay, they are going to farm, they are farming, and when it comes to security, Malanga Tijaningala, he's trying possibly best to see people of Gambarungala are in safe.
Imperatively, the need for local government councils to develop other means of generating revenue for infrastructural and human development is critical.
All right, the report from Borno, one of the local governments in Borno State there. And we still have Prof with us in the studio. Prof, I know there are those who share the opinion that perhaps if we have strong institutions that will help check the excesses of those elected to carry out certain responsibility either at state or local government level, if we have strong institutions in place, it will go a long way in checking this misdemeanor, if you like, the quagmire we're currently experiencing in the local government areas.
I really support. That narrative. I mean, we will have to even give Obama the benefit, of this, thinking, that because he was the one that came to Africa when he was president in the US and went to Ghana and said the problem of Africa is that we have strong men, but not strong institutions. And institutions have to actually, be allowed to function. That is the problem I think we'll have. It reminds me of what, the Waste Commission, report also said. We have to examine seriously the mindset of Nigerians. Even these constitutions one, it's not that some of them don't exist. Is it not, recently we heard of a vice chancellor. I mean, if you are talking of getting technocrats or professors to come and be local government chairmen and so on, you also have to look at the mindsets of the individual.
Now, as we wrap up this conversation, where do you stand? Fixing the problem, is it more about amending the constitution to grant that, administrative and financial autonomy to the local government, or also checking? Because if you have that, some people say the governors will still have control over them because they determine who emerge victorious at the elections, local government elections. Would you also suggest that the local government election be conducted by INEC as well?
I also support that, because what we see, is a travesty of electoral system at local government levels. I mean, at the state levels. The state governors will determine who will be who. And it's like a decree coming from, from high heavens, and nobody can change it. The function of local government elections should be taken away from the state level and make it, be the responsibility of INEC. And in fact, what they should actually do, and I think this is what also happens, particularly in Britain, where I said, the elections are done, almost, across the board. Across the board. And you have, agency of government, one agency of government that handles these elections. So why can't we do the same thing? This separation has also given the governors the clout to control the local government, functionaries the way they like. So let us collapse constitutional provision that, elections should be handled by state governments or the state independent electoral commission, and integrate it into what INEC can do. Then besides that, we also need to have, to ensure that the institutions that we have, they are there. They should be allowed to function.
Thank you very much, Professor, for speaking to us on this critical issue, because if we get it right at the local level, a lot of people say that perhaps the insecurity, poverty, some of those challenges that the nation is, being confronted with right now will be a thing of the past. It's been a pleasure, talking to you. Thank you very much, Prof. We've been speaking with Professor Nu Yakubu. He's the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Abuja. This is where we call it a day on the program. Today we have been talking about strengthening the local government administration in Nigeria. You've had different respondents saying their opinion, and it all boils down to the need to have the the freedom of financial freedom and administrative freedom for the local government, talking about the local government autonomy. And also the elections should be conducted by an INEC, done almost at the same time when we are having the general elections. Perhaps this will go a long way in checking some of the excesses and bring